Welcome to Wrenching to Race. We have made yet another video. This one, as you will see, will be all about the golf, aka the golf cart. We have basically a tentative track day in March. Car runs, drives. It's a freaking animal out there. It's really the closest it's ever been, which is, you have to get close to finishing the car before you go race it. So that's where we're at. From when I left Jersey last year in June to now, this is the update. Stay tuned. What we have here is a 2-liter ABA bottom end with a 16 valve top end, a turbo that's way too big for the car, an intercooler that's also probably too big for the car, and then a bunch of other stuff that makes it run. Inside the car, new door handle feature. We've got some cardboard dash, and basically the inside's very similar to what it was before I left Jersey. We have that tachometer, which is gigantic, mostly used for drag racing, which kind of is fitting for the car since it was at one point going to be a drag car. But inside, one of the things that we have to do is replace the temporary mounting of the switch panel and the gauges and get that more permanently mounted. So that is coming. As you can see, the wires are kind of all over the place. All right, so that's the inside. For the outside here, I mean not the outside, but the under the hood stuff. Things we've done since we have the car here. All of the surfaces that are connected to the intake and the throttle body now have gaskets. We did a leak test, and as you can see from the leak test, we had leaks everywhere because everything at the first, putting together of the car, Derek, who we bought the car from, probably put everything together, for fitment, but wasn't really put together. And me, not knowing how to build a car, thought, oh, it's all together. So now I've learned that you need gaskets when putting two metal surfaces together. The other thing we did was put a proper gasket on this. We connected the flange that was not really connected. We hooked up a vacuum line for the top of the blow-off valve. So that was some stuff that was done here. And then inside here, this throttle body, it's hard to see, but basically there was passages on the inside of this that was completely not working, and just this whole thing was one giant fucking vacuum leak. Another thing we did was Brendan built a throttle cable bracket, which is right here. We did a little CNC plasma cutting. Some of the other stuff we've done, we've rerouted the oil catch can, which is going to be replaced with an air oil separator. This thing gets filled up very fast with the gases and oils coming out of these two fittings, which are -10 AN fittings coming out of basically they're valve cover breathers. With the turbo setup, there's a ton of blow-by, especially under boost. And so what we've done is we're circulating all this stuff down to the crankcase vent line, and that basically vents to here for now. It's not ideal. Over the course of a day of racing, we would fill that catch can up probably 3 times. So the air oil separator that I'm getting is going to go here, and basically we're going to run a line from here from the oil catch can or the oil separator back to the oil pan. So that's going to happen. At one point we busted the timing belt. So we have a new micro V belt. It's a 6-rib micro V belt for the alternator and the water pump down there. And then we have a new timing belt here, which is nice. What I'm still trying to get is a lower timing belt cover off an ABA motor. It's unbelievably hard to get. Brendan welded these fittings for the Dash 10 AN fittings. We can, if we need to, we can remove this top fitting to see if we're getting water, any bubbles or anything like that. We can basically check and make sure water's flowing out of the turbo, because what we've installed is this little guy. And this is an after-run turbo water pump. So basically right now it turns on with a switch, feeds water up this line, and this goes all the way to the back of the turbo and runs water through the turbo, through that fitting right there, goes into the turbo housing, out this guy, and then hooks back up to this coolant hose for the upper radiator. So it works great. It keeps everything very cool and running right, so it's very handy. I cut out this whole cowling part that was up here, but for the most part all that's done. All the turbo piping, it's a little ridiculous how this is, but one of the things we had to do, we had pulled the turbo and machined the surface of the turbo, the T4 flange, so that it basically, valve cover and the compressor housing were touching. So we rocked the turbo back a little bit, and now, as you can see, we have plenty of clearance there. Not really, but it's enough. We'll probably build a support or two for the turbo, maybe somehow some bracket going from this valve cover to that hole there. I'm not sure how we're going to build it, but we should have some sort of bracket holding that on. Other than that, that's kind of it up front here. It's a lot. When the timing belt broke, we had a bunch of valves bent, so we had to fix those. I had spare valves at home from an old head that was garbage. One of the things we're going to do is get rid of this early bracket that the coil sits on and put on a bracket that works better. And then all these wires, which are sort of like, I wasn't sure what to do with them. I'll be able to collect all these wires and put them somewhere so they're not looking like this and coiled up like this, because that's not good. One of the things we had problems with in Jersey was keeping the Golf cool. And what we found out was that we had some of the water lines incorrectly plumbed. So what you can see, you have 3 outputs on the water pump itself. You got the big one here, which actually comes in and goes right basically up to the head. You have one that's blocked off that we welded closed, and then we have another one that feeds from the lower radiator hose, which is technically the cold water after it's been cooled through the radiator. So we've sort of condensed all the lines to basically come from the radiator and go into that bottom input for the water pump, and then straight from the head. It's hard to see, but basically it comes out of the head, and instead of going straight into the radiator, it comes down and goes, a little portion of the water goes down and into the radiator and starts into the block and starts circulating with the help of the water pump. So basically that will help warm up the engine quickly, but the majority of the water goes into these upper radiator hose. As you can see by the list, there are a couple things to do. I'm building the turbo coolant line that comes out of the head so that there's coolant flowing to the turbo at all times. The after-run water pump will be when it comes into the pits, when it comes into the garage, and the car gets shut down, we can run the water pump after the car's off, and that'll help it from boiling the water in the turbo. It'll also help circulate some water through the motor because it's going through the radiator. Install the air oil separator, just the clutch cable, remove the idle air control valve and put the block off plate on, build a fan shroud for the radiator. I got to put a new radiator temp switch on so the fans can go on just from the the temperature switch on the radiator. Gonna do a bracket for the coil, oil change. We got to put a bung on the bottom of the oil pan for the air oil separator return line, and just a few more odds and ends. So that's basically it for the Golf. I'm gonna keep plugging away here for another couple hours, but yeah, we're gonna get working, put in a few solid days on this car, and we should have a dashboard built, gauge panel, that sort of stuff. And then I got to order some fittings for the coolant lines I'm looking at. Stay tuned, and I hope you got caught up on the Golf with this video. Thanks for watching.